All right, welcome back. Today, we've got something really special for you. Forget just looking at one piece of Web3. We're going to take you on an exclusive architectural tour of the entire thing. Seriously, we've managed to get our hands on the actual blueprint for the whole ecosystem. I'm talking from the Bedrock foundation all the way up to the penthouse. So, ready to dive in? Let's go. Okay, so this is our map. This is the guide for our whole tour today. The best way to think about it, it's like we've sliced a skyscraper right down the middle so we can see everything inside. You see down at the very bottom, that's the infrastructure layer, the bedrock. Then as we move up, we hit middleware. Think of this as all the plumbing, wiring, and data. Above that, the financial layer. That's where all the money and value gets exchanged. And right at the top, the application layer. That's where people, you and me, actually interact with everything. We're going to visit every single floor. So here's the plan for our architectural tour. First up, we're starting at the bottom, the foundation, looking at bedrock and scaling. Then we'll head up to the core machinery, the execution and data layers. After that, we'll explore the value exchange level with all the finance and assets. And we'll finish up at the top with the human layer, applications and governance. Sound good? Let's get started.
All right, first stop, the foundation. You can't build a skyscraper on sand, right? Every great structure needs solid bedrock. In the world of Web3, that's our Layer 1 networks. We're talking about the big ones, like Bitcoin or Ethereum. They provide that fundamental security, that rock-solid agreement, what we call consensus, on what's true. But before we even pour the concrete, there's this huge, critical architectural decision we have to make. And this choice, it's going to define everything else we build on top.
And here's that big choice. Do we go monolithic or do we go modular? Think of a monolithic chain, like Ethereum, as a single, super talented builder who tries to do everything. The execution, the settlement, making sure the data's there. It's really robust, for sure, but man, it can get congested. Now, the modular approach, which projects like Celestia are really pushing, is totally different. It splits up the jobs. It's like having a specialized crew for each task. One for execution, one for settlement, one for data. And when you do that, you can get these incredible gains in speed and flexibility. So yeah, the choice is basically between an all-in-one powerhouse or a highly efficient team of specialists. Okay, so our foundation is poured. Now what? Well, we got to think about capacity. I mean, you can't build a massive skyscraper and just have one tiny elevator, right? It would be a nightmare. That's exactly where Layer 2 scaling solutions come into play. You can think of them as these super fast express elevators. They grab big batches of transactions, whisk them off the main floor, and process them somewhere else to keep things from getting jammed up. And what about keeping the lights on for the whole building? That's where node services come in. Companies like Alchemy and Infura, they're basically the power grid, the utility company for this entire digital structure. So how do these express elevators actually work? Well, the main technology here is something called rollups, and there are two main flavors. First, you've got optimistic rollups. They work on a kind of innocent until proven guilty basis. It's like an honor system. They just assume all the transactions are valid unless someone challenges them and proves fraud. Then you have ZK-Rollups. They're the complete opposite. They provide a tiny cryptographic receipt of validity proof for every batch of transactions. It's like getting every single transaction mathematically notarized from the get-go. No trust needed. It's just proven correct. All right, let's head up to the next level. We're now in the engine room of our skyscraper. This is the middleware layer, and it's all about the core machinery, the execution engine. This is where you find all the tools of the trade. Smart contract languages, developer toolkits, testing grounds, the whole shebang. And hey, for any developers watching right now, that little note on gas optimization, that's not just a friendly tip. It's absolutely crucial for building apps that are actually usable. For everyone else, gas is just the transaction fee you pay. So when a dev optimizes it, they're making the app faster and cheaper for all of us. It's a huge deal. A building isn't just concrete and steel. It needs robust plumbing, it needs wiring. In Web3, we call that the data backbone, and it's made of a few key parts. First, you have oracles, like Chainlink. Think of these as the windows of our building. They securely feed in data from the outside world, like the latest stock prices or weather information. Then you have indexing platforms, like the Graph. This is basically the building's directory or concierge. It helps you find any piece of data anywhere in the building super fast. And finally, you've got decentralized storage, things like IPFS or Arweave. This is the building's fireproof, tamper-proof vault. It's the secure archive where the building's memory is stored forever. Now, our skyscraper isn't just some isolated tower in the middle of nowhere, right? It's part of a sprawling digital metropolis with tons of other blockchains, other buildings. So how do they connect?
That's where cross-chain infrastructure comes in. These are the bridges and tunnels that connect our building to the rest of the city, letting assets and information flow freely between them. And one of the most popular ways to build these bridges is a mechanism called lock and mint. Let's actually walk through how this works, because it's pretty clever. So step 1, you take your token and you lock it inside a smart contract on, let's say, chain A. Step 2, a bunch of observers, like a digital neighborhood watch, see that you've locked your token. Once they all agree, they trigger step 3. A corresponding wrapped version of your token is created or minted over on chain B. Now you can use that new token to do whatever you want on that second chain. And if you want to go back, it's just the same process in reverse. You burn the wrapped token, and your original one gets unlocked back on chain A. Simple as that. Okay, time to head up to the financial layer. This is the trading floor, the economic engine of our entire structure. And really, it rests on 2 massive pillars. First, you've got decentralized exchanges, or DEXs. These are places where you can trade assets directly with another person, no bank or big company in the middle, peer-to-peer. The other pillar, stable coins. Think of things like USDC. These are tokens designed to hold a steady value, usually pegged to the dollar, so you have a reliable way to make payments without all the crazy crypto volatility. So you might be wondering, how does a DEX even work? If there's no New York Stock Exchange matching up buyers and sellers, how do trades happen? Well, the secret sauce is something called an automated market maker, or AMM. It's genius. Instead of a traditional order book, it just uses big pools of tokens and a really simple math formula to figure out the price. The classic one is just X times Y equals K. And the coolest part? Anyone, and I mean anyone, can add their tokens to these pools to provide liquidity and earn trading fees. It makes the whole system open to everybody. But hey, finance isn't just about swapping tokens back and forth, right? This floor of our building has way more going on. You've got these advanced DeFi protocols like Avail and Compound that let you do things like lending and borrowing just like a bank, but without the bank. And here's something I think is incredibly exciting, the rise of real-world assets, or RWAs. This is literally where the physical world meets the digital one. We're talking about taking things like US government bonds or even a piece of real estate, tokenizing them and bringing them on chain. This is a massive bridge being built between traditional finance and this new digital economy. And here we are. We've made it to the top floor. Welcome to the application layer. This is the penthouse, the user-facing part of our building. This is where all that underlying tech, all that value transforms into culture. Here you've got NFTs, which give us true, provable digital ownership over things like art, music, collectibles, you name it. And then there's GameFi, which takes that idea and runs with it, building entire video games with real player-owned economies inside of them. It's pretty wild. So a big question is, who's in charge of this whole building? And how do you even get in the front door? Well, the management is often handled by something called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital co-op or condo board. If you hold the project's token, you get a vote. You can vote on everything from how the treasury spends money to what new features get built. It's all about community governance. And your key to get in that front door, that's your crypto wallet. Now, let's be honest, wallets in crypto they've been a bit of a pain, historically. A little tricky for newcomers. But there's a massive upgrade happening right now called account abstraction. And here's why it's a total game changer. It separates your account from the private key that controls it. That might sound technical, but what it means is we can finally have features we're totally used to from the normal internet. Things like social recovery, getting your friends to help you get your account back if you lose your password, or paying transaction fees with whatever token you have, not just the main one. It is making Web3 wallets so much easier, basically as simple to use as your Gmail account. Of course, with all this value and activity, there are 2 absolutely critical pillars holding the whole thing up: privacy and security. You just can't forget them. In a world where most blockchains are totally transparent, privacy solutions are essential to protect sensitive information. And security? Well, before any of this code gets deployed into the wild, it gets torn apart and rigorously tested by auditing firms. They're like the building code inspectors for Web3, making sure there are no cracks in the foundation or hidden vulnerabilities that could cause a collapse. Our building also needs, a grand entrance lobby, a formal way for the rest of the traditional world to come in. We call this the institutional bridge. This includes things like centralized exchanges, your Coinbases and Binances, which are the main on-ramps for turning your dollars or euros into crypto.
It also includes enterprise solutions, which adapt all this cool tech for big corporations. And super importantly, it includes regulatory and compliance tools. These are the tools that help everything we've talked about operate within the law, which is absolutely vital if this is ever going to go mainstream.
And so, standing here at the very top, we can finally see the real-world impact. We're seeing all this technology being put to work in specific industries, from supply chain management to healthcare. But what's even more exciting is looking out at the horizon from here. We can see these incredible new concepts being built on the very foundation we just toured. I'm talking about things like decentralized AI, or DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks, and brand new ways of thinking about social media. The future is literally being built here. And that's it. Our architectural tour is complete. We've gone all the way from the deep core protocol engineering at the foundation, up through all the data plumbing and infrastructure, and finally through the layers of DeFi economics and smart contract security that make it all run. What this final map really shows you is just how many different skills you need to have to actually build in this space. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. It really says it all. It's not enough to just be a great coder anymore. If you want to build things that last, things that have real value in this new world, you have to be part economist, part cryptographer, and part systems engineer all at the same time. You have to understand the incentives, the security, and the architecture. You have to be a polymath. So there you have it. We've walked through the entire building, from the foundation all the way to the roof. We've seen how all 26 of these pillars fit together to create this incredible new digital world. The blueprint is now in your hands. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build? Thanks so much for joining me on this tour.